Hey everybody, this is Russ Carson Jr., one of the genealogists here at Family Tree Nuts, and I'm in Lexington, Virginia. I'm on the college campus of Washington and Lee University here in Lexington, and I'm in front of Lee Chapel. Inside that chapel right there is the tomb and the remains of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. As you know, that after Lee had surrendered at Appomattox in April of 1865, he was basically without a job. His plantation at Arlington had been confiscated, and he didn't know if he was going to be tried for war crimes, tried for treason. So him and his family lived in the summer of 1865 in Richmond. The faculty here at what was known as Washington College at the time asked Lee to become the president here, which of course he declined because he didn't know if he was going to be tried for treason and war crimes. But he eventually accepted and joined as the president here at Washington College. The student population went from about 40 to 400. You can probably guess why, due to the obvious famous person that was the president here. General Robert E. Lee had this chapel built when he first arrived on location. And you can see that inside here, it's a very large chapel, and he took his pew at the front on the left that him and his family would sit at there before each day they'd have chapel. But in the front of the church, you see there is his monument made out of marble in here. It's supposed to depict General Lee laying out on the battlefield with his men. He was known to sleep out in tents instead of in more nice places in town or something like that. His wife wanted him to be shown as buried with laying out there with his men. And you can see that the family symbol of the Lees is there with the squirrel. You see the symbol of the squirrel all over the place here. Squirrel away knowledge and the things that we can learn from a squirrel. Down in below the chapel is his office, left untouched from the day that he died in 1870. There's the museum with all the types of different things about Lee and Washington, both here in the museum. And of course you see his tomb right here, where him and his family are interred inside there. Now, the day that Robert E. Lee died in 1870, it had been raining for many, many days here in Lexington, and no traffic could get in or out. And they couldn't find a suitable coffin, but an undertaker had ordered some coffins, but they got washed away in the river. And eventually some boys found one coffin that was banked and brought it up there, and they used that for Lee's coffin. Now, Lee was 5'11", and this coffin was built for a smaller man, so Lee had to be buried without his shoes. Interesting information right there. Right outside the door of the chapel, where his famous horse had traveled, of course, with Robert E. Lee. He is said to have grazed the grounds right outside here in front of the chapel. Today, the door is always left open because that used to be the stable where a traveler would be at, and they want to make sure that traveler is able to wander the grounds and always find his way back home. So another neat, interesting fact. So anyway, wanted to bring you here to the chapel and the tomb of Confederate General Robert E. Lee is eternally entombed. And just remember, Family Tree Nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.